What's up, guys? It's probably not maybe your favorite YouTuber here. Welcome to another video diary. I've technically done video diaries before. I'm hoping to kind of do them more often because I've done a lot of stuff. I'm sure everyone has done a lot of stuff, but there are particular stories that I sometimes bring up and then people say, wow, that's a really interesting story. Maybe a lot of people could learn something from that. So I'm going to try and talk about it here, and who knows, maybe someone will watch this and be moved by it in some way. I need to do it in one take, otherwise it'll just sit on my computer and never get uploaded. So let's go. As the title says, it's probably labeled something like How I Escaped from a Cult. There goes my timer. This is how unprofessional I am. But How I Escaped from a Cult or something like that. Yeah, I mentioned that in my Alice in Borderland trailer reaction. I just barely briefly mentioned, oh yeah, I once escaped a cult. And I don't think anyone really caught on because no one asked about that. But, yeah. Have you guys heard? You probably have, because you've probably seen these people walking around asking if you want to come to a Bible study. And they are, say it with me now, the World Mission Society Church of God. You've probably heard about them. They are a sort of, I guess, if you're really technical about it, a Christian denomination that's it originated in South Korea. They believe in God the Mother. They believe that someone that was alive in the 20th century was literally the reincarnation of Jesus, here to finish the 37 years of preaching that Jesus didn't do, because in the Old Testament it kind of foreshadows that someone's going to come by and be the Messiah and preach for 40 years, but Jesus only did it for 3. And then this guy in the 20th century did it for 37 and then died, and people are like, oh, maybe he was the second coming of Jesus. And they think that his wife is still, his wife is objectively still alive, but then they think that she's also a reincarnation of Jesus, so they think that Jesus is literally alive as her. I don't know, it's one of those things where, I don't really care if you believe this stuff, because I think that ultimately what should matter above all else is if you're actually trying to be a good person and standing up against the oppressors and helping people who don't have a voice. So I would be absolutely fine if that was their belief system, but okay, let me just tell you the story. So there was 2 people that I was hanging out with, and one of them mentioned, hey, I got invited to this thing that is happening tonight, some sort of games night thing. It's supposed to be some sort of Christian games night thing is what they said. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool, let's join. Because I've been to Christian game nights before. Sometimes it is literally just a church group will just hold a games night at their house. Now, usually those types of gatherings wouldn't be open to the public. They technically are, but usually they try to just advertise those things to people within their church, because they don't want a bunch of random people who they don't know and might potentially steal stuff showing up at their house. I mean, when I heard it was a Christian games night thing, I didn't think it was at someone's house. I thought it would be at a church building or at another building. Then we found out, as they started explaining more what was going on, that this was in fact the World Mission Society Church of God. I had experienced these people once before, very briefly. It was very odd. I was walking around on campus, and then there was this guy just walking around. Oh, by the way, World Mission Society Church of God, I would bet $1,000 that these people are really hell-bent on gender segregation, because it really seemed like the idea of a man and a woman being friends was a concept that was completely beyond their perception. Because, okay, let me just explain this. So I'm walking on campus, right? And there's this guy walking with a suit and glasses. I didn't think much of him. And there's this older woman walking behind him. And he approaches me directly and says, oh, hey, we're just walking around on campus, and we were just wondering if you wanted to join a Bible study. And I go to Bible studies, and I was thinking, yeah, sure, I love that. And then he kind of asked me what my background on faith was. I honestly I don't think he was expecting me to say yes. And this older woman that was clearly following him, what really kind of bugged me was that throughout this entire discussion, she never said a word. Not to me, not to him. So I was almost thinking maybe this is a training thing. Maybe she's new to the church or new to leadership. And she's following this guy around to see how it's done. But I also think it's quite possible that they were literally walking around, and if they see someone who they think is a guy, then the guy will talk to them. And if they see someone who they think is a girl, then the woman would talk to them. That might have been what they were doing. I don't know. All that I know is that this guy started asking me what my background was, and I was just kind of honest. I was just like, well, I go to a lot of religious stuff, mainly Christian stuff, because that's just what's around these days, you know? But yeah, I just like going to Bible studies, just hearing what people have to say about their faith and community and stuff like that, and I just like talking to people. And I think my answer kind of maybe made him realize that I wasn't going to be easily integrated into his exact belief system, because he asked me, oh, well, would you be interested in maybe doing a quick Bible study right now? Like, we could just sit right there and talk just for a little bit. And I was like, yeah, sure, because I had time. So I sat down, and it was very odd. Like, so me and this guy are sitting on this couch together, and the older woman is sitting on a different couch. And he just kind of pulls up the Bible app and just kind of goes on and on and on and on and on, trying to lead me to the conclusion that the Sabbath is on a Saturday. And, you know, judging from what I've said before, you might have come to this conclusion, but I personally couldn't care less what day you think the Sabbath is on. Obviously, most Christians think it's the Sunday. Some people think it's the Saturday, the Seventh-day Adventist, but I don't care. I don't care if you think it's Sunday, Saturday, Monday, Wednesday. I couldn't care less, because I think that the Sabbath is kind of irrelevant. Like, you know, it's the day that we're supposed to rest and worship God, but it's not the day where you have to rest. That was a huge thing that Jesus said, is that, like, well, you shouldn't, like, strap yourself in your chair and just not move all day on the Sabbath. That's not what the Sabbath is all about. But anyway, so as soon as I realized that this guy was trying to get me to say that the Sabbath is on a Saturday, I was like, oh, so are you a Seventh-day Adventist? But he was very quick to shut that down. He was like, oh, no, we're not Seventh-day Adventists. But, like, the thing is he wasn't being direct. He wasn't just saying, this is what we believe. He was, like, showing me these Bible verses and saying, like, see, so Jesus was crucified on Sunday, the first day. So if Sunday is the first day of the week, then the seventh day of the week, or the Sabbath, would be on... And I was like, Saturday, yeah. And I was just like, yeah, I get what you're saying, but, like, I don't really see how this is important. Clearly, it was very important to him. But anyway, so, sorry, I said that very aggressively because of what happens at this games night. But anyway, so eventually he gets up and gives me, like, a little thing on a piece of paper. Or he tells me, like, a link or something that I put on my phone. Something like that. Point is I figured that whatever this was that he was giving me must have more information on this Bible study. It wasn't. It was literally just a link to the website of the World Mission Society Church of God in general, and their entire belief system, which just led me to the Wikipedia page, which made me realize, oh, okay, these guys might be a bit of a cult. But what really annoyed me was that, like, you know, he just sends me to this website of what they believe. What was he expecting me to get from that? Like, there was no information about any sort of Bible study that was happening in my city, on my university campus, nothing. So I think he very clearly could tell that I was someone who wasn't going to show up and just be quiet. I mean, like, I probably would have just been quiet, but, like, I wasn't someone who was just going to listen and then be converted and then I would be a part of their group. He knew that I was someone who was going to show up and not really care about them trying to really pressure into the idea that this is on a Saturday, and whatever. I guess he just didn't want me to show up to the Bible study once he actually talked to me for more than 10 seconds, or more than 1 second, I guess. But anyway, so this games night thing, I was like, do you know what, whatever. I don't know what this thing is. I don't know, like, what these people are, what their motives are, but, like, whatever. It's a games night. It's they're telling people on a university campus, like, hey, come to our games night. So it's not going to be that weird. It was weird. It was very, very weird. So we show up. We drive there. Me, someone else, and someone else. We drive there, and it is at someone's house, which I think is kind of bizarre, but not that bizarre. I was just like, okay, well, maybe this is just a church and they're just holding up they're holding a games night at someone's house and they just figured that they might invite a few people from campus. Whatever. Fine. I buy it. We go into the house, and so it was very clear that they weren't expecting 3 of us to walk in at once. But also, So in our little 3-person group, there was me, a woman, and a non-binary person. And they, like, immediately tried to split us up according to the genders that they thought that we were, which resulted in me being by myself and the other 2 people being together. Sorry, my stomach growled. But I just can't, I can't express how weird that is on its own. To, like, see a group of 3 friends come in who are probably, like, coming in together to, like, support themselves and make sure that nothing crazy happens, and then immediately try to divide them. Because they got a female member of their group or whatever to come and watch the other 2 people, and then they had a guy come watch over me. And I cannot describe how weird of a vibe this was, because they were trying everything to keep me from talking with the 2 other people that I arrived with. And then this guy that is walking with me is literally walking with me as if he's my babysitter. Like, not like helping me walk, but just like the way that, like, he was constantly, like, trying to talking to me all the time, making sure that I was paying attention to him and paying attention to the tasks that we were supposed to do, like, trying to keep me from looking around. It's an absolute no-no to talk to anyone else in this group. We just want you and me, you and I are just going to stick together, and you're going to do what I say, and the moment that it looks like you're trying to talk to anyone or look around or do anything, I'm going to say something and get your attention so that you're looking at me, right? Like that was literally what it felt like. Like, you know, like I'm not even over exaggerating. Like, it was very much like that. So their games night was not a games night. When I think of a games night, even a church-based games night, I imagine there are games that you can play if you want, but you can also just kind of hang around and talk to people. That was not happening here. They had a list of 5 different games, mostly that were based off of Squid Game, that we had to play. And they were trying very hard to have this whole, like, oh, let's see, it's fun, and then you'll win, and then you get a little star or whatever. And then afterwards, you can have a little Bible study with us. Holy crap, man. So they had like 5 little games. One was literally the whatever it is where you're carving. I'm not a big Squid Game fan. I like the shows that Squid Game rips off, like Alice in Borderland and Liar Game, but I'm kidding. Anyway, the second game of season 1 where they have to carve the shape out of the cone, that was game number 1. I failed immediately. I wanted to pick the star because I was like, well, I don't want to pick the hardest one, but I also don't want to go easy. It's probably not going to be that difficult. And almost immediately, like, I chipped the corner of the star off. And, you know, my little babysitting guy is like, kind of like, you know, he's all like, oh, no, keep going, which I appreciated. Like, again, like, it's really hard because this was just love bombing everywhere. Like, the people were being nice, but it was very clear that they were doing everything in their power to keep me from talking to anyone else beyond just the bare minimum. Oh, okay. Because they wouldn't even let me ask for the shape. He asked me what I wanted to do, and then he asked the person, which is just so odd to me. Like, it's one of those things where, like, anything on its own might seem like I'm over-exaggerating, but you put all these together, and it's just red flags everywhere. The second game that we had to play was the dice thing, where we had to throw up the dice and catch them. It was very odd. I managed to do it. This was the only game that I actually managed to legitimately do, and I was the first one to do it. And then they escort me out of the room, away from my 2 buddies who are still busy doing the shape carving thing, and then I'm in another room. We had to do the thing where you the prep game from Squid Game where you slap the one square on another square. Bro, I couldn't get that thing to budge. I was lucky if I even managed to hit the thing, cause like I have my little diamond thing. I was lucky if I even managed to slap it at the ground and it hit the other square. But like, bro, getting it to move at all was, like, impossible, let alone getting it to flip over. So, you know, eventually the guy essentially just does it for me, and then we call it a win, which is kind of sweet. But again, like, I feel like I would have been able to maybe start doing it properly if it weren't for the fact that this guy is, like, literally, like, has been instructed and trained by this group to like, oh, okay, when a person comes into the house and we send you to go and watch over them, you gotta watch over them the entire time. Because like he's literally just like completely absorbed in what I'm doing, which is just so bizarre. Like I was just like, you can go do, you know, God forbid you go check on the other people, see how they're doing. No, of course not. Oh, you gotta literally just stand there and watch me and see me fail after fail as the pressure kind of builds up for me to do something. So anyway, eventually he just does it for me and we call it a win. Then the fifth mini game in the six-legged race thing, where you have it's like a little circle thing attached to a pom-pom thing that you gotta kick on your feet 5 times in a row. I was so embarrassed, I could not do that to save my life. I was lucky if I managed to kick that thing 1 time. Because eventually my babysitting guy says like, oh, okay, forget the 5 times in a row thing, just try and do it twice in a row. And even then I was thinking like, I'm not sure if I can even do that. And I wasn't able to do that. So eventually he's like, oh, okay, let's try and do it twice in a row, but between us. Like, you kick it once and then I'll kick it again. And we try, and again, like I'm barely able to do it. And even if I do kick it, I was not able to kick it in a way that would get it towards him so that he could kick it. So then we switched it and said, let's do it 2 in a row, but this time he kicks first and then I kick second. And eventually we managed to do that after a couple of tries. So I'm at 4 stars. I have beaten exactly 1 of these 4 games. And then the 5th one is not even a game. It's literally, hey, let's just put on a funny little outfit and then stand and have your picture taken very awkwardly. I pushed to have it on my phone because I like having pictures like that. I'd rather not show it though right here because, you know, the guy who's part of the group is in the picture. And, you know, I'm not really sure if he'd want me to show him. But anyway, yeah. So finally, we managed to go downstairs and do the Bible study. Why are all the tables gender segregated? Each table was either entirely women or entirely men. So of course, he drags me over to a table so that it ends up just being me and him. One of the main leader people comes over. And again, like, what is with them not being able to be authentic? This guy comes over and talks to my babysitter and says... And, like, it's kind of just, like, really talking very quietly into his ear. I couldn't hear at all what he was saying. Turns out that he was asking my babysitter, that's what I'm calling him, because that's essentially what he was acting as, to ask me to send the pictures from my phone over to him, which I was happy to do. But again, what is with this odd structure where you don't even feel comfortable talking to the people that has, like, taken the bravery step of coming into your house to see what you want, see what you're doing with this whole games night thing? I just find it so bizarre that he couldn't come up to the table and talk to me and just say, hey, do you have those pictures? Would you mind sending them maybe to me or to this guy? But instead he has to go over and, like, ask him to ask me, and, like, does it in a whispering as if, like, it's a huge secret, even though he's about to ask me. Like, it's not like they wouldn't want other people, like, I don't know. It was so awkward. But anyway, so I send the pictures, and again, he just goes on and on, trying to convince me that the Sabbath is on Saturday and that Christmas is evil and you can't celebrate Christmas. That's apparently a big no-no thing in their faith. And, like, he occasionally asks me, what do I think about this? But again, there's no room for me to actually say what I think about it. You know, like, it's not like he's asking me, what do you think of this verse? Because he honestly wants to know what my opinion is. And if I have anything to say, anything that might inspire someone or inspire him. Sorry, I was just adjusting my chair. No, he's saying it clearly because he wants me to come to the correct answer. But I have no idea what that is, so I just kind of take a wild guess. And if I'm wrong, he just kind of looks at me and just kind of nods along and says, like, okay, yeah, well, you know, when it comes to this verse, you notice how... So, like, you know, he wasn't being a jerk about it. He wasn't like, hey, you're wrong. But he just kind of, like, he'd let me speak. And then if my answer wasn't what his answer is, then he'd just nod and then say what his answer is. Because, you know, there's no such thing as free will. No such thing as unique opinions, unique interpretations. All that matters is what this group, what we think. I'm like, you know, I'm sorry that I'm bashing on this group so much, but at the same time, like, I'm not really, because I feel like I should be allowed to talk about this because it was so awkward. Like, this group wants people to join their group, but they're doing it in the exact wrong way because they're not allowing people to say what they really think. Eventually, my two friends come down, and one of them like says like, "Oh, like I'd want to sit at the table with them as in me." But you know, their babysitter has to be like, "Oh no, let's go sit over here. Let's go sit over here. You know, gotta divide and conquer, divide and conquer." So they're sitting at a table across the room. So, you know, I just keep saying what they want to hear. I just keep going along, and in my head I'm literally praying. I'm just like, God, give us an opportunity to escape. Cuz you know, I could have just stood up and said, "Hey, I'm sorry. I gotta go." I could have even said like, "I'm sorry. I don't believe in any of this. I gotta go," and then go get my buddies and we leave. But I was kind of worried. I was like, what if they like this? What if they're genuinely enjoying themselves here and they want to stay? In that case, it would be very awkward if I get up and I'm like, "Hey, let's go." So I just kind of go along with it and I'm just finished. And then, you know, and then they gave me a glass of water, which was nice. But honestly, at this point, I was so uncomfortable that I genuinely did not know if they had like put something in the water. He's like kind of telling me like, "Oh, hey, you should drink some more of your water." So I took like two very tiny sips. I was honestly afraid to actually drink it. Um, Clearly one of my other buddies wasn't, because she was very happy to go and eat their food and stuff like that, which, you know, I'm sure it was fine. I did not want to eat any of their food, but I sat down at a table when they invited me to, because, you know, I had nothing really else to do. Of course, the table is entirely guys, and you know, I did appreciate that, you know, if I was actually eating food, it probably wouldn't have been awkward at all, because they were genuinely asking me questions about what I have been through, how long I have known these other two buddies that they're not letting me go and check in on, but they're asking me like what I'm studying, like how long I've been a student, all this stuff, what kind of stuff I get up to. You know, I did appreciate it. Like, honestly, I feel bad calling it a red flag, but the only red flag in this scenario is really that they weren't talking about themselves at all. They were just kind of asking about me, which I guess is a nice gesture. You know, I'm the new person, so they want me to feel like I'm, like, becoming part of their group. They want, like, to know about me or make me feel like they want to know about me, which I appreciated. But, you know, eventually I'm just sitting there and I'm just thinking, like, we have to get out of here. And then I remembered there was something else that we were supposed to go to that night, and it was coming up. So I messaged my little group chat that I'm in with them, and I just kind of say, because I don't want to say, like, "Hey, do you guys want to get out of here, like, right the F now?" I literally just said, like, "Hey guys, don't forget, there's that other thing that we wanted to go to in 40 minutes. We should probably head out soon." That's the message that I sent, because I genuinely did not know if they were enjoying this or not. Maybe they were having a much better time than I was. Maybe their leader, babysitter person was a much less red flaggy person. I don't know. Like I feel bad saying that the person who was watching over me was like bad, because he wasn't. Like, he was clearly trained by this group to do what he was doing, and he was doing everything in his power to come across as nice as possible, when I would have just appreciated authenticity. So anyway, eventually, after about 5 minutes, my two buddies message the group chat and literally say, like, "Help us get out of here." And then someone was like, "Yeah, they're basically keeping us hostage." So then as soon as I saw that, I was like, all right, time to go. And, you know, I kind of wish that I said, "Hey, I'm really sorry, but I gotta head out now." But I was kind of getting the impression that they were probably going to really pressure for me to stay. So at that point, I literally just like, I had enough of their group. So as soon as I saw that message from them, I just got up without saying a word, and then I walked over to the table and, like, you know, just my two little buddies are sitting right here, so I kind of come up behind them like, "Hey, sorry, these two are with me." No, that wasn't it. "Hey, Teddy, how you doing?" So their leader person, their babysitter, looks at me, and, you know, and she's smiling, but it's very clearly with, like, a sense of, "Hey, what are you doing? Get the hell out of here," sort of smile. And she's just like, "Hi," and I'm just like, "Hey, don't forget, guys, we gotta go." And they're just like, yeah, let's go." And, you know, and as I turned around, the group of guys that were sitting at the table that I want to say hi to Teddy, the group of guys that were sitting at the table that I was just talking to, at least one person there was very clearly like knew what was going on, because he just looked incredibly bummed out. He was just had a frown on his face, like whatever. And one of the people, one of my buddies, like literally like gives me like a huge like really mouths the word thank you very obviously with their mouth, and that was when I was like, oh, okay, yeah, we're all on the same page. We got to get out of here. You know, and then on their way out, like my babysitter and the guy who was asking for the picture, who I think might have been the same guy who was talking to me earlier on campus, except I thought that guy had glasses, but maybe he just wasn't wearing glasses today, or maybe I'm wrong. But regardless, they were like, oh, well, we have your number because you sent the picture. I'll send you more information about the study in our group. And I was like, yeah, please do. Never heard from him again. But yeah, so we one of my buddies is literally grabbing their shoes and is all just like da, and then we leave. We're like, okay, bye, yeah, thank you. We get in the car and we're just like, what was that? So yeah, that was a time that I joined a very sketchy group of people. As fun as it is to kind of just poke fun at them, I do honestly feel really bad for them, because I cannot imagine what kind of lives you have to have that kind of personality or that kind of group going. To have a group that is so distrustful in other people that you want new people to keep your group alive, but you cannot fathom the idea of like actually getting to know these people, seeing if they have any sort of wisdom that you might be able to take from them on how to be a better person, how to treat people nicer in society. Nothing like that. You just want to get these people in here, look for people who look like they might convert easily, and then convert them as quickly as possible. And then just hope that they can be part of your group so that they can lead it into the next generation and keep it alive. Like, it very much felt like a group of people that would teach each other, like, sort of like, you know, what you hear of Jehovah's Witnesses, to never be friends with anyone that's not in our group, that don't live to the standard that God wants. I feel really bad for these people, and I really hope that they manage to either escape or realize that there's something better for them than just being part of this group and awkwardly trying to force people to think the way that you think. Hey, Misty. The two cats here. Yeah, anyway. I don't know when the camera's going to cut off because I know there's a limited amount of space, but I'm going to try and upload this onto YouTube and see, hey, Misty. And just see what happens. Like I hope I don't get into any sort of trouble for uploading a video like this, but like there's a YouTuber called Heliocentric, who I really like, and he does Atheist Church Audit, where he literally will go to churches and just give a review on them and talk about his experience with them, and like that's a really cool thing. And honestly, I feel like I could do that too, because I've always wanted to do that, where I like church hop, and I would love to like give my honest interpretations of what my experiences are. But yeah, so yeah, and guys, please, like, if you come across these people, if you ever come across a group of people who are clearly part of this group, or any sort of group like this, please remember that they need to be loved. They need to be cared for. And don't make fun of them. Don't be mean to them. Just try and see if they're willing to hear you. And if they're not, wipe the sand off your feet and move on. Because the last thing that we need in this world is more hate. And I really hope the best for all the people in this group. I hope that they're able to see the better path. Okay, that was a lot. But that was the time that I escaped from a cult. So, thank you all so much for watching this video. Really hope that you enjoyed it. Like, dislike, comment, and subscribe. See you around, guys.